Hello, hello. Let's see. There we go. Welcome back to Password. Did I unmute myself? I did. I always have to check that. I believe today we will see the end of Path D because Path C and D are not long. Path B is a bad end, but it's quite long. I think it ends like at day 14 or so. But yeah, we're near the end of Path D, so yeah, and therefore Path C as well, because Path C I think ends on this at the same time at Path D, but something slightly different happens. Anyway, not really speedrunning. We're going to finish Path D today, at the very least. I'm pretty sure we're gonna finish Path D. I think we could be able to finish Path C as well, which means we're gonna have Path B and A left to do. Anyways, let's get back to the thing, or the action. Left alone, I started to worry, hoping that Tyson hadn't gotten into any trouble. I couldn't hear anything wrong, and the smell of fire was the only thing I could pick out, given how closer to it I was. So I waited, minutes taking by without a sign of Tyson or whatever it was that he made the sound we've heard. Ty? No Ty here. I gasped, turning to the rabbit standing by our fire. Who? Bit formal to be wearing a tie out here. Not got enough of that back at the den. The den? Bah, we don't need to worry about that. What about you, huh? Some poor hyena out here alone. I don't... Who are you? The rabbit's eyes dipped down, looking to Tyson's backpack before looking back at me. Maybe not alone after all. Now that is something a lot more fun. Where's your little buddy, huh? Scrambling to my feet, I reached into my backpack and pulled out the first thing solid I got my hands on. Not that I'd taken the time to get a weapon, but what I did have at the very least was my flashlight. Very threatening weapon, huh? A flashlight. As I gripped it tight in my hand, the rabbit glanced at it, seemingly disappointed in something. Here I was hoping for a little more fun than just some kid with a flashlight. He stepped forward almost lazily, wobbling around the fire as he approached. But beggars can't be choosers, and I'm getting paid enough as it is. Paid? Oh yes, getting paid quite a bit, but you're not gonna need to worry about that in a sec. I backed up a little more, holding onto my flashlight with both hands as the fear started to grow. I stayed quiet, hyper-focused on what the rabbit was saying and doing, illuminated by that orange fiery glow. What, not going to ask? Not going to give me something interesting to do? Pity. My eyes locked to the knife and I found myself frozen on the spot. My mind immediately went to Dean and Roswell, wondering if I was about to die just like them, if I'd get to see them again. I was in over my head trying to figure out what happened with Oswin anyway. It was better left for someone smarter. Not that his rats seemed to like me anyway. Hold on, I actually want to see that CG real fast. No, it's not the same knife. No, it's like a survival knife, and no, it's not the same knife. I thought it would be the same knife, but I think it would be too easy. This'll be over in just a second. I've always wanted a nice rug. Don't you fucking dare. Oh god. In a flash, Ty rushed past me and tackled the rabbit to the ground, the pair of them struggling for the knife. Dave, get out of here. Despite Ty yelling, I was stunned, watching them tussle almost violently, gnashing at one another for control. Go! There was something primal in me that clicked and I ran, each step accompanied by a terrified whine, and in the dark, I had no idea where I was going. In my panic, I didn't even think to use my flashlight until I was out of breath. My hands were shaking, fumbling with the switch as I stopped to catch my breath. The forest was dark, quiet, and all my senses were on edge as I continued to flee for my life. But then I heard it, a sound that chilled me to my core and made me drop my flashlight as my hands went limp. The sound of a pained whelp, followed by more silence. My vision started to blur, what details I could make out in the dark only becoming harder to see. I couldn't hear anything either, be it because the world was still was that still or I'd lost my hearings as well, I couldn't tell. But my nose, that could at least smell the faint tinge of blood in the air. That scent alone was enough to keep me wondering, moving forward in the dark until I could no longer smell it. The thought of even smelling it, along with what I'd heard, terrified me. No rabbit yelped like that, and I knew that what Tyson sounded like from the one time I'd sat on his tail by accident. We'd been walking all day, and I was tired. Everything happening back at the river a blur. Where was Tyson? Was he alright? I stepped out of the trees, clutching my chest. Before me was an all too familiar house, and I fell to my knees in exhaustion. We hadn't gotten anywhere. I had no idea of how late it was, but I was tired. Hello? My voice echoed back at me and as I called out, supporting myself only by leaning against the back door. Anyone, please. Slowly, Haas came into view, staring at me. You came back. He seems to just watch me as I struggled to breathe. Then as I collapsed to the floor, looking around. Orlando's asleep. Don't know about Sal. He's somewhere. Locked himself up and haven't seen him since. Where's Tyson? I don't know. Dave, what happened? Why are you back? Where'd you go? Haas, Tyson. I think Tyson might be... Hey, it's alright. Breathe. You're safe now. I nodded slowly, sighing out. Okay. Good. I closed my eyes and sighed out. I was exhausted, and knowing Haas was around, I finally felt safe enough to let my guard down. Before I blacked out entirely, I remembered him reaching out and touching my shoulder, and then I was asleep. I woke up in my bed. In a daze, I rolled out and onto the floor. My head was splitting, and I struggled to stand. It took me a few moments to get my bearings, and the moment it sank in where I was, my eyes darted around the room in a panic. Ty? Running to the door, I went to yank it open, finding it locked. Wait, they locked me in my room? Why? Baring my teeth, I struggled more with the handle until I felt it better to start banging on the wooden door with my fists. Hey, let me out! There was a silence, and I turned back to my room to look for something, anything to potentially pry it open. Before I could get to looking, however, I spun around when I heard the door behind me open. Um, hello. I sized Sal up, wondering why the door he had been locked in the first place, but decided it could wait. Ty was still unaccounted for. But when I made my to march out of the room, Sal placed a hand on my shoulder and held me firmly in place. You should slow down. Fuck off, Sal. Tyson still. He might be. As I sighed out, Sal removes his hand. I could have left, but the wind has been knocked out of my sails the more I thought about what had happened. Why was the door locked? When you got back, Huss was freaking out, wondering where Tyson was. Glad you were safe, annoyed you left in the first place. I clenched my jaw and stayed quiet, suspecting where Sal was going with this. So, after asking if I could help move you, he decided it'd be best to lock you in here so we could figure out what to do now there was only the four of us left. My hands became fists and started to shake, not liking how that decision was made without any consideration how I felt. I can tell you're upset, but please think about it just for a second. Why should I think about anything? He had no right to decide to lock me in here. Well, yes, but you were about to run out of the house again without telling us why you were back. Or where Tyson is. I felt a chill run down my spine, thinking back to the last time I'd seen him. Shaking my head, I made for the door, Sal this time letting me walk around him. Dave. With my hand on the door, I stopped, hearing that tone Sal used when he wanted to ask something as opposed to one to imply I was doing something wrong. That sentence was something. You're not going to do anything reckless, are you? I didn't bother to looking back, heading straight downstairs toward the backyard. My clothes clung to me and I felt gross from the day before, but I didn't care. I wanted to know what happened to Tyson. Stepping out into the backyard, I looked at the trees. I looked to the sky. It all looked so different now that I wasn't running in fear. My resolve was starting to shake. In times like these, I had been taught to call the police, to ask for help. But how was Tyson going to ask for help if I didn't do it for him? Approaching slowly, I rested my hand on the closest tree and looked out into the dark. It didn't seem like there was much in the way of landmarks to hint at which way I should head, and how fast I was running, it was all a blur anyway. A sickening feeling in my stomach made me wonder if it was even worth checking. Was Tyson even alive? The moment I took my first step, I heard footsteps approaching me in a measured pace, causing me to freeze. Benson? I rubbed my eyes, frowning. I wondered if I was now just seeing things or if he was actually there. Didn't you. Weren't you on vacation? Just as calmly as he appeared, he approached until he was within arm's reach. Placing a hand on my shoulder, he looked at me in the eye, seizing me up before speaking in a level tone. Was it you that discovered his body, my boy? Huh? Oswin. Oh, yeah, I suppose I am? His grip tightened briefly before he eased off, stepping away. I see. What are you doing back? I thought you were. And in time, I'm sure you'll no doubt tell me the specific to things I didn't witness happening as they took place. but I assure you that I'm aware of what's transpired. Even Sal? Even Tyson? I'm not in the mood to repeat myself, my boy. Believe you, wait, believe you, what the hell is that sentence? Believe you me if I didn't, isn't just believe me if I didn't have my orders. I'd be, being a lot more rough in finding out what I want to know, regardless of how much pain needed to be inflicted to get it. You're threatening me? Perhaps I'm being more curt than required, but no. At least not intentionally. I'm not overly fond of threats when action achieves a lot more. Yeah. I looked back towards the forest, finding myself agreeing with that sentiment insofar as trying to stage a rescue attempt for Tyson, as much as I was underqualified to do it. You don't intend to go out there by yourself, do you? Least of all, not like that. Least of all. And if I am, then you're more of a fool than had thought, and far more than what Oswin was worried you'd be. Gesturing towards the forest, I bared my teeth at him, insulted. Tyson's out there maybe, alive or dead, or I don't know what. No one else liked him but me from what I can tell, and no one seems to get that. Have you told them? No. Well, you're welcome to go in by yourself, although you'll quickly find that doing so will be a bad idea. Lest whatever you're worried to got to Tyson gets to you as well. Well, I can't just do nothing. The next move, whether you like it or not, is to take stock of where we're at and make sure everyone is on the same page. Now that I'm back, it's the best time to do so. But Tyson. Sorry. Benson frowned and sighed out before pulling me away from the forest into the yard proper. Tell me, why are you here and Tyson isn't? He stopped the rabbit from a rabbit, not a hare. There's a difference? I suppose right now it doesn't matter. Something to bring up when we have our little chat, no doubt. Then, and only then, we can look into staging some sort of inquiry into Tyson. You mean save Tyson? I'll not mince words, Dave. There may not be a chance for that, but I'll argue that if it should be possible, that it should be a priority. But first, you need some water and maybe something to eat. You've been out for long enough to miss breakfast. Okay, but when we're done, then you're free to do whatever you wish. He guided me back inside by the shoulder, easing off once we were back indoors. The moment I spotted him I frowned, but remained near the back door despite Benson continuing further inside. I wondered where you went. Yeah, like you really care after locking me up in my room like that. What, you expect those of us you left behind to let you run off again? It's bad enough that Tyson's not here after what happened to Dean and Roswell. I shifted uncomfortably on the spot, keeping my eyes on Haas. And you think it's fine that Tyson's just somewhere in the woods, maybe hurt, maybe dead, and I'm the only one that seemed willing to try and save him? God, can you just get over yourself? Sure, all aware that locking you in your room was the wrong call. Sue me for wanting me to stop a friend of mine from throwing his life away, or at least attempting a second time at it. There are more important things at hand than a petty squabble about what is right and wrong. One fatality is bad enough, let alone multiple. What we need is a proper meeting about our options moving forward. as they are increasingly more limited the longer we waste time. You're right, but Dave, you get that we're all in danger, right? You get that none of us want to see others die, yeah? I. The longer he looked at me for a reply, the harder it was to keep frowning. Yeah. Normally, I'd recommend sitting in the room for a chat, but all things considered, I don't think anyone would likely want to talk around the recently departed. Don't worry, they're not there anymore. I'd assume then Orlando has moved them into the freezer? What makes you say that? Hardly surprising, as that be my first choice given the options. Assuming he's done so correctly, what food that's in there already shouldn't suffer any adverse effects. You're absolutely certain of that? We're not going to starve? My boy, we have more pressing matters to worry about than missing a couple of meals in the worst scenario. If they're covered and kept far enough away from the food, it will be fine, I assure you. So the plan now is to have a chat? Indeed. Go fetch Orlando and Sal. It'll be imperative that we're all present. Sure, okay. Yeah, I can do that. Haas shot me a quick look before turning back to Benson, giving him a slow nod. Give me a couple minutes and meet in the dining room? Very well. I watched him go, leaving Benson and I to ourselves. Benson gave me a look before gesturing for me to follow, leading me into the dining room in silence. Things were tense, and I could see it with how he was standing there looking out the window with his arms folded. So, at least we're having a meeting, right? Yes. Then we'll deal with more pressing things. Like Tyson? Like Oswin. What about Oswin? He's already dead. Benson turned to look at me suddenly, his voice held low and his tone harsh. He may already be dead, but have you not questioned why? Or who? I mean, one of your friends killed him, Dave. One of them, or you. But you don't strike me as one capable of murder. Then who? His scowl faded as he looked past me, and I turned to face those that had arrived. Personally, my theory about Oswin's death is it might be the rabbit. I think it might just be the rabbit that killed him in secret. It feels feasible enough. Haas and Orlando wondered in looking between Benson and I, wondering what was to happen. Sal, meanwhile, slunk into the corner, staying out of the way, but he flashed me a quick smile before looking back to the floor. So, we're all here now. Now what? Well, Benson's back. Tyson's missing. Why is Benson back? Master Oswin told me to take a vacation, so true to my word I did. Although he didn't specify how long said vacation should be. Okay, but has Dave filled you in about what's been happening? He trailed off, seemingly realizing something. Wait, how did you get here? How are you back when the road is gone? Yeah, Dad, that's a good question. How long exactly have you been back? Long enough. I was on the mountain when Sal... Sorry, I think you might have heard that, I'm sorry. We all looked to Sal, but he kept his gaze on the floor. We knew what he did, so we turned back to Benson so he could continue. Well, we're well aware of how that ended up. But why stay secret? We were worried about what might happen or what we needed to do, and Because the truth of the matter is that more happened by absence, that I wasn't about to reveal myself to a would-be assailant. What? Did Dave neglect to tell you what he discovered? Did he not tell you that the master of the house was found stabbed in his laboratory? Laboratory? There's a lab here? Wait, stabbed? When? By who? Benson's fist tightened. He was keeping his cool, but only barely. And that is something I have yet to discern. I was hoping that Tyson would also be here to gauge his reaction, but alas. Wait, so the guy that was here, that Dave said was here, he's dead? If that's the case, then as far as who's dead, Roswell, Dean, the guy that lives here, right? Oswin. And Benson is on the unknown factor, alive or dead. I have an interest in knowing if he was behind it. Why? You think he could be? I would rather be certain. So what? You're going to go find him in the woods? What exactly happened out there anyway? Why are you back? Tyson and I, the two of them ran into a altercation deep into the woods, as far as I could tell. But while I found blood, nothing hinting that it was a fatal exchange. I turned to Benson suddenly, hopeful and with a slight smile on my face. He's alive? Potentially. No clue as to where he is otherwise. Assuming that you didn't injure him yourself, do you know who the assailant was? Oh, I don't know them, but it was a rabbit? He had a bandana around his head. A rabbit. Knife? Yeah. Does that dragon know... Bleh! My god, that is confused. Does that dragon know no subtlety? What dragon? Me? Your father. Orlando's dad here? If my hunch is correct, then we're in a bit of trouble, right? Sorry again. I'm going to assume based on that reaction you're well aware of who the Noble family is? They're like a crime gang, right? Okay, yeah. They are not good people. I am, and Grandpa was, but that's about it. Memphis Noble has been to this very manor before, but there's no knowing if he's here now. What we can be sure of is that the rabbit Dave saw likely was on his payroll. Really? Why? Memphis latched onto Oswin's lack of affection for them. Affection for them, it seems. Why was Dad here? He was meeting Oswin's in regards to making a purchase, although Oswin promptly told him in no uncertain terms that his greed would not be sated. What was he wanting to buy? Medicine? The vault. What, the thing downstairs? Like what's behind the door, or? No, the device that thus far has been keeping... well, that Dave has been interacting with. But why? What would he want with it? A do-over, right? A second chance? Do you know something that the rest of us don't, Orlando? Just the occasional things he said to me. That he wished certain things. Like what? Orlando sniffled and shook his head quickly, rubbing his eyes. Haas placed a hand on his shoulder and sighed out, looking between Benson and I. But more importantly, he sent a rabbit to come and collect, right? It would seem so. Why can't we just give it to him? Oswin made it abundantly clear that it wasn't to be handed over to him. And by extension, I intend to keep it that way, starting with finding out who is responsible for his passing. Okay, but what should we do? I mean, if this rabbit guy works for your dad, then you can't just call him off. Ah, Haas, perhaps I may be reading too far into this. No, I don't think my dad particularly cares what I want, or if I end up just, you know. Indeed, Orlando's right. I have some PTSD about. Just little thing. We're going to see Memphis. And when he appears, be ready to see the main cast drop like flies, literally. In the way. Dead, Dave. Am I wrong, Orlando? He nodded slowly, whimpering as his whole body quaked. So as we have it, there's a likely chance that we're still in danger, inclusive of Tyson, whom is still potentially in the woods breathing. So we're going to go save him? I will be going to assess things, and I would rather that you come with, yes? Wait, but where does that leave us? What's going to stop that guy coming here while you guys are out in the woods? As of right now, nothing. But it's imperative that you do not risk yourselves defending something that is mine to protect. Stay upstairs, find a way to stay safe, and await our return. Sal cleared his throat, and we looked over to him, slowly stepping away from the wall. If you two are going into the woods again, I want to come too. Really now? Why Sal? I feel that if Tyson might need rescuing, then it's something I can potentially do to, it will potentially be dangerous. You could do just as well keeping the others safe by remaining behind. Sal looked over to Huss and Orlando, who kept their gazes elsewhere. I suppose. The decision is yours. You are welcome to come, and an extra set of eyes won't hurt. Sal looked at me, making eye contact, and nodded once. They've looked out for me, so the least I can do is look out for him in his hour of need. Thanks, Sal. We might need the help. Right, well, if that's sorted, there's much left to do, so I'd recommend that you all prepare, be it mentally or otherwise, for the next couple of days. I nodded slowly, turning to leave, but found a hand on my shoulder, easing me back. Follow me around the other way if you would, Dave. The rest of the group left into the foyer while I followed Benson into the kitchen. Then from there, out into the corridor, but we didn't follow it in the direction of the rest of the group. The wall just opened up. I don't know how he did it, but he pushed me through and plunged us both into darkness soon after. Benson? Stay close. Squinting in the darkness, I wondered where we were, or where we were going. It was hard to even place just how far down we were, but if we had to guess, it was the basement. My god, there's so much W's in this sentence. My god. Then I could smell it. That taint on the air that almost made me gag and stumble in the dark. Benson didn't seem to break stride even once, continuing until he came to an abrupt stop. We shall not linger longer than we need to. This is... Vincent punched something into a keypad onto the wall, and the door opened up to give us entry into the lab. The smell hit me hard, and I almost threw up. The room was lit in that pale light I remembered, and almost untouched was Oswin's body, just how I remembered it. I whined, covering my mouth before my ears caught the sound of scurrying. My eyes went to the desk, and I found a set of red eyes piercing back at me in the gloomy light. "What do you want?" He sounded almost sad, the taunting, almost gleeful tone he had when I had first discovered the body no longer there. "Who killed Oswin, Thanatos?" Yes, this is actually his name. I looked between the two of them, watching as the rat pulled his gaze away from me to stare at Benson. "Why do you want to know?" He gestured to me lazily, not shifting his gaze once. "It's too late to do anything about it. The vote is offline too, so unless you want to interrogate Junior there, you're wasting your time." Holy shit, I've forgotten about that. Damn, okay. In a flash, Benson had pulled a gun from somewhere and held it poised towards Thanatos. "Benson? Don't worry about it, Junior." Slowly, Thanatos wandered forward and placed his forehead against the barrel of the gun, eyes still locked on Benson. "Go on, then. Shoot me. You should know that I can't die anyway." Oh my god, this reminds me of Zero Escape, ZTD, Zero Time Dilemma, where the main protagonist, I think his name is Carlos, discovers that he has the power to jump between timelines, and there's that one scene where he's just like, "Go ahead, shoot me, I cannot die anyways, I'll be fine." And it's just like, the other character is just like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You're gonna die. I'm gonna kill you, bastard." It kind of just reminds me of that. "You can't die? Why?" He shrugged, and if the light wasn't hard to make it see, I would have sworn he smirked for a split second. "Can't be a god of death if I follow the same rules, can I?" "Ah, yes, okay. Tell me this. Do you know who killed Oswin?" It was the first time Thanatos looked back at me, sizing me up. He didn't say anything to me, instead turning back to Benson. "I can do you one better. You already know who did." Just as lazily as before, he gestured across to me before continuing. "And so does he." "What? Who? Tell me who, you miserable rodent." "No, I meant it when I said that David would die here without knowing why. So I have nothing left to say to you." I covered my ears as the gunshot echoed through the room. It might not have been loud, but it was piercing enough that it hurt. My only relief was the ringing didn't last long. As I opened my eyes, Thanatos was gone, and Benson was putting the gun back into his holster. Did you just... I never liked that rat. Such an unnatural creature." But I looked at where he'd been standing on the desk and followed the line across the wall where, shrouded in the dark, I could make out his limp body. Did he need to die? Benson grabbed me roughly before pointing at Oswin, still slumped in his chair. "Did Oswin? Did Roswell? Or Dean? The life of a rat isn't worth much in comparison." "But he was just... his master died. He was just sad." Benson eased off, looking at me sternly. "Well, I can empathize in the most literal of senses, Dave. Trust in that we no longer need to be here. One last thing. What is it? Who do you think did it? If Thanatos knew who, and thinks you know, but says that I also know, then the implication is that it would be you given the circumstances. You discovered the body. You are here now. It would fit that rat's behavior to try and antagonize the situation on his way out. But I didn't, I swear! Which is all the more reason why I'm curious as to why that rat thought he knew better. Granted, I've had my hunch on who did this, but I'd rather check all the avenues before committing to an accusation. Is that safe? None of us are safe anymore, Dave. Not until we get off the mountain. He guided me out of the laboratory in a hurry, the smell starting to register again in my nose. Soon enough, Benson had guided me out of the hidden part of the house and back through another door connecting to the basement. I winced as my eyes adjusted to the light, with Benson stepping out of the passage behind me and closing the door behind us. Well, that was informative. It was. A loose end that was tied up today, Dave. While unfortunate that the Vault is now not a tool that we can use moving forward, it was proven to be less than reliable anyway. You're sure? Like, what if it was my fault? That I just used it wrong? Oh, undoubtedly you missed your opportunity, Dave. If that device was the key to saving your friends at all, then yes, you failing to use it would constitute something as your fault. I was stunned, a whine coming out of my throat as Benson seemed to trail off. I didn't. I was only trying to... Failing to operate a broken machine does not make you the one at fault, Dave. Even then, you had seen something. Who's to say that you could have done anything about it? What? I don't understand. What I mean is that what's done is done, and there is no sense worrying about it. Maybe it is your fault, or maybe it isn't. But this is the reality we find ourselves in. He reached out and pulled a hand on my shoulder, giving it a reaffirming squeeze. And in this reality, there is still your friend Tyson to potentially save, no? I frowned, suddenly resolved in the reminder that things weren't all lost. Not just yet. Okay, so what now? That's a good question. I'd say mentally preparing for what's likely to happen tomorrow is a good start. Meanwhile, I shall source you out a weapon. A weapon? I'll need one? Would you rather go into the woods underprepared? At the very least, I think taking something beyond your flashlight would bring you some sense of security, Maybe? You don't think I'd actually need to use anything, right? I'd say that is something you should seriously consider, knowing full well that it's a very real possibility. But why? I didn't do anything to them. You're the son of a police officer, and they are lackeys of a childish brute with a gun and a cigar fit. Whoa, okay. Okay, insulting Memphis behind his back. Wow, that is funny. I doubt they'd care who you are if you get in the way. And as it stands, they're likely the ones in the way of retrieving Tyson. And we're in the way of getting them to the vault. Of them getting the vault. Bleh. Well, more technically I am, but that's fine. It is the duty charged to me by Oswin. May he rest in peace. What did he charge you to do? Benson sighed, shaking his head. There's little harm in telling you specifically now that Oswin is dead. But quite simply, it was to protect you and keep you safe. What? I did the double take, not registering what he had said right away. The longer I waited for him to clarify with nothing else said on the matter, the more it sank in. You're to protect me? But why? Oswin believed that, well, I wouldn't say danger, but he believed you were at risk. From what? I thought, I mean, I just... I'm sure, no doubt, he mentioned about someone being marked for death. No, it couldn't be me. And why not? I haven't been in danger. I've done nothing that could have ended up with me dying. Oh, I wouldn't say that. Death can loom around around any given corner at any time. Not to mention, I'm very good at my job. I grimaced, giving him a suspicious look. My mind immediately thought about how Oswin was dead and that he'd let that happen. Come on now, Dave. Would you really make fun of a grieving old man? I didn't say anything. You didn't need to. Just trust what Oswin's wants were something I wished to fulfill, even the most self-sacrificing of ones. All of them. He started to guide me again, up the stairs towards the foyer. We can get more into it tomorrow. I have to find you and Sal appropriate armaments if we're to go into the woods, and you'd do well to spend some time reflecting. I don't need time to think about it. Dave, I'm not going to lie to you. Going into the woods is dangerous, even with me trying to keep you safe. There's a very real possibility that you may end up facing the end of the road, so please, consider if it's really worth it. I didn't need to consider anything. I already knew that if Tyson was still out there, or even if he wasn't, I needed to find him. But when I got back to my room, I started to have my doubts. What if he was dead? Could I face seeing his body? Hours started to tick by while I moved stuff around about my room in an effort to prepare for something I had no idea on how to. What if I couldn't? What if I broke down right when I was in the most danger? Then my mind started to wander towards my own life. If it was worth potentially losing in pursuit of saving someone who might be already gone. But I knew my answer the moment I decided to head downstairs to tell Benson I was ready. As I came down the stairs, I looked around for Benson, or really anyone, given I hadn't seen them since our meeting. My eyes fell on the back door and the world outside, and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. Each step I took felt heavy until my hand was on the door, looking out at the woods and the darkness beyond. My heart beat heavy in my chest, skipping a beat when I saw movement, hoping it was Tyson. Tyson? Rushing over, I got closer to the trees, stopping just shy of where I was when I ran into Benson. Are you there? Holy shit, I didn't know that he was literally just here. Okay. Oh no, parting through the trees was him, and I immediately took a few steps back. I trembled in front of him, memories of the last time I saw Tyson flashing through my head. Well then, finally caught back up. Where's Tyson? Huh? Who's Tyson? Oh, that dog. We'll get to him later. What did you do to him? Where is he? Later. For now, I've come to check out the place. You can't. Sorry, again. I can't? Why is that? You thinking you're gonna stop me somehow? Well, gosh darn, Dave. You're gonna go breaking my heart talking like that. The moment I saw the knife, I backed right up, all the way to the back porch. Step after step, the rabbit continued to approach, not breaking his casual stride. But then he stopped and I clutched my ears as a single gunshot rang out nearby, the knife flying out of his hand and embedding itself into the ground behind him in some ways away. Oh good, the butler's still there. That dog wasn't very helpful in figuring that out. Is he unharmed? For now. Benson, he's alive. Wait, where did you take him? Oh, you know, somewhere safe. Might be willing to give you more info for the right price. I'm not interested in your games, Rabbit. A rabbit? It's Jack. No need to be, on a first name basis now that I know both of yours. Enough. What reason do we have to believe you're true to what you say? Why, I'm glad you asked. Have anything you want to say to your little dog of a boyfriend? Jack pulled out what seems to be a walkie-talkie and pressed a button, holding out into the space between where he and I stood. Well? Wake the fuck up. There was a semi-muffled voice on the other end of the radio, then a few thuds. Huh? What? Tyson, that's Tyson! Jack pocketed the walkie-talkie, shrugging. It'd be a shame if anything happened to that guy. Much as he managed to make a little mess of things. But good news! Why don't we make a trade? For what? Dave, we both know what he's after. Oh, do you now? Well, that makes my job easier. And while I would have liked something a bit more exciting, I'm sure your dog friend wouldn't mind keeping things entertaining while you decide what you want to do. Wait. So we have a deal? I'll give you back your friend. You give me what I'm after. What my boss is after. I turned to Benson quickly, hopeful that he'd just give the rabbit what he wanted. The longer he remained with that cold stare, the more my smile faded and hope along with it. If you have come for the vote... Benson turned to look at me slowly, nodding once, but I couldn't place his expression. Then I suppose I have no other choice but to comply. Great! Is what I'd say if I just had gone and brought the dumb mutt along with me. So tell you what. You bring whatever you've got and and we'll make the trade at the watermill. Sound good? Fine. But I'm not... What is that word? Trapezing around the dark like a fool. Keep the boy you have hostage safe for the night, and you'll have what you're after come morning. Hostage is such a strong word. Take it or leave it. Fine, by your terms, we'll keep him safe enough, but he's already roughed up a bit. What's a little more? Don't you hurt him. Feisty, huh? Well, I already got what I wanted. Maybe if I'm feeling nice, he won't lose more than an ear or something overnight. Jack sprung back to his knife, swiping it off the ground and twirling it in his fingers before flexing his hand around the handle. Don't keep me waiting for too long. Then as quickly as he'd appeared, he made a showy wave to the both of us before disappearing behind the trees and out of sight. Tyson then... Calm yourself, Dave. Calm? Tyson's alive, but they've got him and the... This is why I said you should prepare. Get what sleep you can, Dave. We'll be heading out at dawn. Yeah, I don't think I'll be sleeping all that soundly tonight, even knowing Tyson's alive. It's a small victory, Dave. One we'll take for now, all things considered. I nodded slowly, messing with my hands while I looked out to the forest again. Tyson was alive. That was the victory. But worry had killed my appetite. Benson said he'd tell the others what had happened, and I headed to my room. A hot shower later, and I felt more relaxed but no less worried. Come on, pick up, please. I shook my phone. Even with the reception out, I wanted to try. But all I kept getting was the voiceover that said that no connection could be established. Pulling the phone away, I looked about the room Tyson had been staying in. His scent was everywhere and was finally reminded me of home. Without him around, it felt strange. Like when my dad died, it made me uncomfortable in a way that I couldn't place, not out of sadness or loneliness, although both had their part. Maybe it was partially because I knew Tyson was alive. I'd been to Dean's room and Roswell's already, but with them definitely done, maybe it was easier to just be angry at them being gone. I'd been angry at Saul already, but now I could be angry at Jack. I could be angry at this vacation, at the bus that brought us here, at everything that had gone wrong. So I returned to my room to sleep. Not that I slept well, but I did so with my flashlight in hand, resolved that I wouldn't lose anyone else I loved, not if I could help it. I couldn't sleep. Exhaustion had caught up to me originally, but I lay there most of the night on my back, staring at the ceiling. In the dark, my fingers flexed around my flashlight, netting it as my mind raced as to what was happening somewhere in the woods. Part of me kept an ear out for any sound that indicated that something was wrong, that something had happened, but instead it was as still as ever. I wasn't sure what was worse. When dawn came, I sat up. My head was hurting and my throat was dry. The pit in my stomach made me ill, and as I struggled to my feet, I sluggishly went to freshen up only to find myself hacking and gagging, bringing up what was left in my system. I felt gross, weak, but I made my way down to the ground floor all the same. Oh, Benson, hey. Morning. There was a stiffness to him that I hadn't seen before, or maybe I just hadn't noticed. We spent a few moments just sizing each other up, the silence making me shuffle uncomfortably on the spot. Today's the day, Dave. I hope you're ready. I am. I'll be plain. Going into the woods will be dangerous. Tyson's out there. I can't leave with him with them. Benson grunted a sound of affirmation without breaking eye contact. Come with me. He led me to the dining room and sat me down, leaving me soon after to head into the kitchen. A few minutes later, he was back again with some tea and plain bread, setting it before me. I looked at him and dropped himself neatly into a chair nearby, sitting upright and staring off at the opposite wall as if we were waiting. Eat. You're going to need it. I'm not that all hungry. Worry will do that. You'll have to focus if you have something in your stomach, if you're still intending on following me out there. I am. The first bite was hesitant, and I stopped there, opting to instead have some tea. Also, you'll need this. He slid across the table a knife in a leather sheath, my stomach lurching when I saw the familiar handle. That Oswin's. But it was in his chest, yes. It will do us more good in your hands, giving no doubt you'll feel safer heading in armed. Looking at the knife carefully, I had to agree, although I didn't like where it had came from. I'd offer you one of the knives from the kitchen instead, although the blade on Oswin's is more robust and has a guard to keep your fingers safe. Right. Excuse me. I couldn't help but overhearing the part about kitchen knives and safety. Indeed, I wasn't about to let Dave head in exposed. In fact, neither do I intend the same for you, if you're still joining us. I will. Good, in which case, you were best to take this. A revolver. It will fit your hands better than it does mine, and you're less in a state than Dave is. Right. I watched as Sal took the revolver and was slid towards him across the table, holding it delicately but firmly all the same. If it's all the same to you both, I'll excuse myself here. Meet me within the hour outside so we can head off. Setting the gun back down on the table, Sal took Benson's chair and just waited. For what, I don't know. But I eventually slid my bread over to him. Not hungry? Not really. Sal grumbled, taking a bite of the bread and swallowed hard. Try not to worry. We'll find him. I left his comment without a reply, rocking back and forth in my chair uneasy as I tried to mentally prepare myself. But when the hour was up, the two of us went to meet Benson. There was a bitter chill to the morning air as I stepped out into it, looking around. Good to see you both. I trust you're ready? As much as I can be. Yeah, I'm ready. Very well, let's get going. Wait, everything's gonna be fine, right? Benson looked me over, did the same to Sal, and then turned towards the trees. Come on. Best we get this done quick. His tone said it all, or maybe he just didn't want to jinx it. I held the knife close as we crossed the tree line into the forest, leaving the mansion behind. It was cold, dark, mostly uninviting. Everything that I had assumed about the woods was being challenged as we started to make our way through. We made no sound, instead just pressing on in a direction that Benson seemingly had picked. He was alert, constantly looking around, and had his gun at the ready. At some point, I pulled the knife out of its sheath and held it tight with both hands, clearly not how I was meant to use it, but it was also meant for someone much larger than me to begin with. A short break, if you would. Okay. Their voices were hushed, looking to me and only getting a nod in reply. I was already wandering over to the river, that then by the clearing that we found ourselves in, looking down at the water. My fingers arched around the handle of the knife, having held too tightly, but I feared that what would happen if I were to lose it entirely. What's that, anyway? I looked over to Sal, gesturing over to the small bundle Benson had been carrying with him. Leverage. To trade for Tyson? In a sense. It's what they're after, Aldo. A sound echoed through the woods as he stopped there, looking up to scan the trees. Although I hope we're not making a mistake handing it over so readily. I understand. But what is it? I mean, I know what they're after, but... Then it's best we not dwell on it further. I wandered away from the river and sat down near Benson, recoiling as I felt something underneath me. What's... In my hand, it looked like a glass syringe, thick and with a few drops of something inside. A syringe. How peculiar. Why is this out here? Drug addicts? That needle is too thick for that. I remember that from the hospital. Indeed. I wouldn't be surprised if that came from Oswin's lab. We were missing after all. Some were missing, but how did it get taken? Did they come into the house and take stuff? Most certainly not. They need to have gotten in, past the door in the library, into the laboratory, and back out without alerting anyone else in the house. Although I suppose with Oswin's passing there has been ample time to sneak in without alerting him. But from memory, there were things missing prior to, well, my departure. This implies that this was an inside job. Someone that wouldn't draw attention to themselves wandering the house. I'll save you some trouble and say that while it was not me personally that removed the missing pieces, it may as well have been. Another snap from nearby made us freeze and look around, Benson's face going stern as he rose back to his feet. Come, we're going to follow the river up the mill. The sooner we conclude our business here, the better. Without another word, he got up and led the way forward up the river. One last look at what I'd found and left it there. It wasn't going to help us now anyway. As the mill came into view, I stopped, looking at the structure ahead of us. Old and abandoned, but there was something in the air that I could smell. Something foul, but I couldn't quite place it. Benson gestured over for the two of us to linger a ways back as he approached carefully, looking about as he did so for any sign of Jack. I don't like this. His voice was barely above a whisper, and his eyes were trained on Benson. The weight of the gun in his hands must have started to get to him as he was shifting it uncomfortably in his grip. I did the same with the knife, barely breathing just in case I heard or smelled something that hinted at something going wrong. A few minutes later, and Benson made his way back over, looking somewhat perturbed. Even for a trap, I don't like how this feels. It's a trap? Of course it was. Or at least they weren't planning on making this exchange without some level of cunning. But then, where's Tyson? Presumably inside somewhere, if not somewhere else entirely. And then, those back at the mansion? Benson seemed to consider the idea before shaking his head. Safe. If Tyson was somewhere nearby, I should be able to figure that out, right? I could try calling out, or I could try to smell him. Maybe I could wander on inside to see for myself. Please don't, Dave. What are you planning? Clutching the knife tightly, I breathed in and deep as I closed my eyes. Tyson. Where was Tyson? Hold on, let me just check that. We're still in Path D, okay. I knew what he smelled like. It was just a matter of picking him out from all the other scents of nature. I just had to find something that didn't belong, something familiar. But that's when I caught a whiff of it, and my eyes flew open in alarm. Blood! I can smell blood! As I went to rush forward, Sal grabbed me from behind, a solid hand on my shoulder stopping me from advancing. Don't go running in alone. That's just asking for trouble. Not to mention that you've just given away any element of surprise we may have had been declaring that so loudly. I struggled against Sal and pulled away, rushing forward, stopping as I saw a flash of white appear around the entry to the mill. Welcome, welcome. So good to see you. You, where's Tyson? That dog? He's around here somewhere. But what I really want to know is where the vault is. Not much of a trade if I come away empty-handed now, is it? Here, you miscreant. It's right here. Gun in one hand, package in another, Benson approached cautiously to stop beside me. Oh good, your buddy is inside, so I'll just take that off your hands and you can go in and get him. I'm afraid that I must insist that you bring along bring the dog out here. That's not how we do business, sir. That's not how we do business, and you know that. Have you considered perhaps handing over the vote first? It happened so fast, and he'd been so quiet that I didn't realize that Sal had come along around the side, grabbing Jack and quickly pinning him against his front. Hey, what's the big idea? I breathed, a sigh of relief as Sal pulled him away from the entrance of the mill, and I was about to head on in before a heavy footfall made me stop. Before I could say anything, a large bear had grabbed Benson, pinning him in a similar way to how Sal had Jack. Gotcha, you limey bastard. Benson's gun had and bundle tumbled to the ground, and he was grabbed roughly around the neck, eyes bulging in a stunned fury at having been caught off guard. Let him go. Let Jack go first. Jack, meanwhile, was cackling madly to himself, not even trying to get away. The knife in my hand felt heavy, unsure of what I should do. Kid, open that package. Okay, just don't hurt Benson. I shot Jack a wary look. That smile not once leaving his face as I knelt down to peel away the cloth keeping whatever it was bundled together. My hands trembled as I stared at the loss at what was in the package. It was that rat that Benson had shot in the lab. The gunshot wound seemed to have been stitched up quickly, but the smell of iron was still strong. What game are you playing at? I looked over to the bear and noticed his arms tighten around Benson's neck. There was a sickening crack as Benson continued to trash but was unable to speak. That's a rat. Why did Benson bring a rat? Oh good, he did bring it. Been waiting to get my hands on this little guy. The moment I turned to look at Jack, he kicked back at Sal to free himself and winding Sal in the process. I'll take that. Even without hesitating, I watched as Jack tore into the rat and removed something small that seemed to please him. The rest he threw off to the side while pocketing what he'd taken out. Well, I'm happy. You want to go collect your friend now? Once more, Jack got grabbed by Sal, but this time he was quick enough to draw his knife, getting Sal to let him go with a quick cut on his arm, but it was clear that they were not done scuffling. Sal didn't have a clear shot, but he was keeping up with how Jack was moving all the same. Looking over to Benson and the bear, it seems as though his grip was only getting tighter. Didn't think it'd be more than the butler, but this shouldn't take too long. Go say hi to your friend if you want, kid. Near where I was still on the ground, was Benson's gun. The bear's stare on me only intensified, eyes darting down to the gun and back to me. Looking back to Sal, he was struggling to keep up with Jack. He was faster, lighter on his feet, and Sal was barely keeping himself safe from Jack wildly swinging his knife around. Then on top of that was the smell of blood being stronger here. It was coming from within the mill, and it was strong, as if there was a lot of it, and my stomach lurched, fearing the worst. But between the two pairs, I found myself worried about what may happen if I were to leave. They both needed help, and mustering what courage I could, I made my decision. Okay, this decision is important. No, I'm not gonna save over this. So this decision will say whether or not I go get Pat D or Pat C. For Pat C, I save Benson. For Pat D, I saved Sal. So we're on path D currently, so save Sal. Yep. I scrambled, holding my knife tight and rushing Jack. He quickly skipped back, giving Sal time to line up a shot. Also, just to show that I was right, we're still on path D. Going to shoot? Go on, try! I bet you can't handle that recoil. One glance at Benson and Sal returned his eyes to Jack and pulled the trigger. A loud bang echoing around us and plunging us all into silence. My eyes darted about Jack's body to see where the bullet had landed, but that smile never left his face. You missed. There was a pained gasp for air, and our attention went to Benson. Do it. It was over before Sal could line up another shot. One more series of wet cracks and Benson fell limp, blood flowing from his mouth, and right before he was dropped in a heap at the bear's feet. Job's done. Butler's dealt with. Oh. Well, let's see. Job's done. Butler's dealt with, and we have the access key. Sal shot again, the recoil carrying his shot to hit the side of the mill instead of where he was aiming. In that same moment, the bear pulled a gun too, pointing at past Jack to Sal. You try that again, and I might have to show you how it's done. Run along back to the mansion. We'll be along shortly. I looked to Sal, and he seemed to be stunned. Eyes locked on Benson's corpse, left in a crumbled heap on the ground. Drop the gun. Knife too. The bear turned the gun to point at me, gesturing at the ground. Shaking, I tensed around the knife and struggled to pry my fingers away from it. Sal, however, slowly lowered the gun, putting his hands up. Come on, the knife's on the ground. Then you can go. Why are you doing this? Why? Oh, that's an easy one to answer. It's just our job. And Tyson. If we're feeling generous, we'll bring the mutt with us. Carefully, I lowered to my knees, placing the knife on the ground and raising my hands as Saul did. Great. Now get lost. Quick as a flash, Jack had leapt forward and grabbed both the revolver and knife before grabbing Benson's gun too. I looked up to Saul, who had his jaw clenched and was shaking as much as I was, but still, he started to back away, and I followed suit the moment I noticed the gun still pointed at me. The moment we were out of the clearing and back behind the trees, Sal grabbed me roughly by the wrist and ran. Sal, I don't... Shut up and keep running. But Tyson... What about Orlando and Haas? They're heading to the mansion next, and we need to get there first. I swallowed hard, half dragged forward and occasionally through the air as Saul tugged me mid-step. Panic and adrenaline propelled us forward, cutting a path through the forest. I just hoped Sal knew the way. And for Colin, I'm gonna say, Memphis is gonna appear in the next scene. So, you'll finally get to see him. Sal and I emerged from the woods and ran up to the back door of the mansion, both out of breath. We made it. Were we followed? We both looked back in unison, scanning its trees. As much as we didn't see anything to be alarmed about, my heart was still racing. Wow. Wow. That's mean. Guess not, but we don't know how long we've got before they catch up. quick, inside. Sal yanked the door open, and we rushed inside. The moment we were clear, Sal slammed the door and door closed and looked around the foyer. You're back. We don't have time. Things are bad. How bad? Where's Benson? Dead. I would be too if Dave hadn't thought fast, but that's the only good thing. No. It's not only the only bad thing. Tyson's dead too. The two of them will be on their way here, and who knows what they'll do. Tyson's not dead. If we do what they say, they'll bring him along and let us go, right? I need you to listen, Dave. We're all scared. But if I could smell that much blood from outside that mill, it's not a good sign. Even if he was still alive, we're probably dead if we stay. You're lying. He can't be dead too. Okay, well, where does that leave us? An escape down the mountain? Can we even make it? What other options do we have? Stay here? What if we just got a bunch of weapons and tried? Our friends are still here. They're already dead, Dave. The way Sal bellowed out made me shiver, shrieking under his height. But we're not. We need to keep it that way. Do you think all four of us could make it down the mountain anyway? I don't know, but I think it's our better choice seeing just how ruthless who we're up against is. It's not worth the risk to stay. So do we leave now, or? And here he is. The man himself. Before anyone could answer Orlando's question, the back of the door was kicked in, and the two from the woods quickly stepped inside. Fancy place. Just like I remember it. Would have thought you'd think to lock the back door, but that wouldn't have stopped us anyway. I stepped forward, looking around for Tyson. What are you doing? Did you bring? The rat is dead. The rat is dead. Huh? Oh, the dog. Nah, he's dead. Gutted him myself. I whined and fell to my knees, staring at him in shock. Oh, come on. It's not so bad. At least you don't need to look at him. You. The bear looked to Haas, almost disgusted, and pulled out his gun. Oh, I thought it... Okay, first and foremost, I thought that Memphis would have appeared. And second of all, I thought that Memphis would have shot Haas, but I guess not. Anyways, more death. The bear looked to Haas, almost disgusted. Without another comment, he shot Haas square in the head, dropping him instantly. No loose hands. You shot... Why? I was frozen to the spot. I started staring at Haas on the ground, the smell of gunpowder and blood filling my nose. You know the drill. No loose ends. No, I get that why that happened so quick. We didn't have orders, but who am I to complain? I put my hands up, much in the same way I'd done before, and Sal followed suit. Orlando half-heartedly did the same thing, trembling all the while. Starting the fun without me, boys? Okay. I kept like teasing it to Colin, but yeah, there he is. I glanced across to Orlando, whose face almost went white upon hearing the voice. It didn't sound all too familiar to me, but the scent that I got right before he showed up made me realize who it was. That pungent smell of cigar smoke, the harsh notes of his cologne, a sort of fiery scent that hurt my nose. It could only have been one person. Dad? Why'd you kill the lion? Don't look at me. It's fine. One less to clean up after. His eyes landed on Sal, and with a slight frown before that smirk came back to his face. Hey, Sal. Long time no see. What? No hello? Hello. See, fellas? This here is a good kid. Loaded with muscle. Not like my fat ass of a son there. Sure, could give me the orders back at the den a run for their money. What'd you say, Sal? Wanna join the family? What? Shut up. No one's talking to you. But Dad... Don't call me that. Who'd want a son like you? Hey. Memphis raised his gun but pointed squarely at Orlando, making Sal freeze before he could finish taking a single step forward. You're lucky I don't put you out of your misery now. You're crying now. You know what? Without another word, Memphis clenched his jaw and shot Orlando in the chest. Desperately, he tried to clutch at his front, but it was doing him little good as he started to quickly bleed out at our feet. But then his gun turned on me, and he rolled his shoulder, almost relishing what was about to happen. This'll be easy. That's when Sal moved, slowly standing between me and the gun. Hey, what's the big idea? You need him alive. I don't need him alive. I need you out of the way. I looked around Sal and the other bear who had his gun lined up at Sal but hadn't fired just yet. With just how quickly he dropped Haas, part of me wondered what made him hesitate now. I looked across to Orlando, who by now had stopped moving, his gaze blank as he stared terrified at the ceiling. Deep down, I knew that he was no longer with us. Who's going to be your patsy? I'm listening. Keep the hyena alive and you can pin it on him. A friend of his goes nuts. He loses his minds and kill them all. It'll be easier for the cops to believe too, right? Memphis seemed to consider it, although I was floored at how Sal would be throwing me under the bus like this. Was he just trying to survive? Was this to save me? Alright. I won't shoot the hyena, but you're joining the family. Okay. Tom, Jack, we'll leave getting rid of the hyena to Sal. Come with me to the basement. Shouldering his gun, Memphis wandered over to the stairs leading down, followed close by the bear. Jack hesitated, seizing the both of us up before also disappearing downstairs. Left alone in the foyer with Sal, my gaze wandered between Orlando and Haas, and then Sal. Why? Suddenly he grabbed my shoulder, keeping his voice low. Let's get you out of here. He guided me by the arms out the front door and closed it behind him. Then taking me by the hand, he started to walk me down the driveway. For a long time, the walk was silent. Barely a word was shared between the two of us until we hit the main road. Why? I'm sorry. I don't understand. It was the only thing I could think of to stop him shooting you. You saved my life not once, but twice. Whether you meant it or not, this is the least I can do. But now you're just going to get back? Yes. If I don't, I fear he'll just come for you at your home, or come and find me anyway. If one of us makes it out alive, I'd rather it be you. But why me? Everyone else is dead, Sal. It's not the best situation. I agree. He wandered over to the edge of the cliff, looking out at the world. He'd have kill you anyway. Maybe he'll let the both of us live if I go back too. So you're going to have to head down the main road, the mountain alone. Oh, hello. Welcome to the stream, by the way. We're at the end of Route D, and things are not too good. And what are you going to do? Just go back and be a criminal? Someone's got to keep tabs on our friends. Not only that, but keep Memphis distracted so you can go get help. Help? He gripped me by the shoulders, fingers digging in tight. Please, Dave, go get help. He backed away, standing at the edge of the driveway. I looked towards the large hole in the road and gulped, readying myself for the climb. It was going to be rough, but it was the only way forward. I left Sal behind. It pained me to do it, but I had to. The way he just left me with no other option to get away. After all, there was nothing left for me to there anyway. Sal had it handled, or so I hope. I walked until I was able to find someone to flag down for help, and after I got a ride into the closest town, I called the police. After all, who else was going to help? Or at least, that's what I thought. The best way they could say is that they'd look into it and hung up after taking some details. Next was a call to Mom. I had no way of getting home otherwise, and with how unhelpful the police were, I wasn't sure who else to call. She came and picked me up, and dropped me off at home before continuing on to work. She didn't ask what had happened, where the others were, or why I was being so quiet. Not that I wanted to talk about it anyway. It's how I found myself standing outside of my front door, staring at the street. The world was going by as if what happened on the mountain never happened. The silence that I expected to be still ringing in my ears was filled with the sound of the world going by. I sat on the sofa waiting for something to happen. It was almost as if I could feel the eyes staring at the back of my head, knowing that I got away instead of dying along with the rest of my friends. Sure, the plan was for me to get away, but then what? Was I really out of danger? Was this what living was going to be like? Wandering over to the phone, I called the one person I thought might be able to help. Hello? Who is this? Huh. Detective Barker speaking. Who is this? It's me, Dave Holloway. Oh shit, David's kid? What can I do for you? Where to even start? I breathed it in deep and sighed out, jaw clenched, not wanting to go through what I had already told the police a second time. Kid, you there? Yeah, I'm here. Something happened and I don't know what to do. Anything I can do? Again, I was at a loss and tried to think my words carefully. I don't know. Well, how about we start with what happened? Maybe I can think of something. They're all dead. I spoke to the police, but they said they'd look into it. Whoa, slow down there. Who's dead, Dave? In a trance, I relayed what had happened. And it was the only after I'd finished explaining that I started to crack, laughing quietly to myself in between sobs. That's. And you're unharmed? They didn't do anything to you? I shook my head, and only when he double checked that I was there that I answered the question with my voice. Alright, I'm going to level with you, Dave. Chances are that we're not going to be able to touch any of this. I'm going to try, but once you start messing with that family, well. Oh, I understand. I mean it, kid. I really want to help, but. No, it's fine. I just. Forget what I said. Anything. Forget I said anything. If anything can be done, though, I'll let you know. Sure, well. I should get going. Thanks for hearing me out. I hung up the phone. Hung up the phone before he could reply, and I backtracked to the sofa to collapse, trembling. Wait, I thought that this was going to be the end. I found myself sitting in front of Dad's grave. There'd be no word from the police or Sal or anyone else, really. It all felt so surreal, even just sitting here on the ground, wanting to talk to the one person who'd be able to make sense of this and tell me what was happening and meant to happen next. Dad, what am I meant to do? Naturally, there wasn't going to be a reply, but I hoped for one all the same. Some guardian angel to appear and give me some clue as to what I was meant to do and to put my mind at rest. The others don't even have graves, Dad. Where am I meant to go to talk to them? Where am I meant to go and just say goodbye? Standing, I looked around the graveyard to all the numbers markers and the few people milling about. But that's when I noticed someone that looked strange among the markers, and I was approaching before I realized I was doing it. Excuse me, um, hmm? Me? Sorry, I thought you were someone else. Oh, that's quite alright, Dave. I froze upon her saying my name, looking her over. Everything's alright? You, you know my name? But of course, dear. Although I suppose you, were quite young. We've met? Who are you? Once, a long time ago. But I suppose if we're doing introductions again, it's nice to meet you once more. My name's Florentia. Florentia Hammond. The moment I heard her last name, I froze, staring at her in disbelief. You were related to Oswin? My younger brother, yes. And this here is my older brother, Reginald. She gestured to the grave she was standing in front of before turning back to me. It's funny, isn't it? Nothing's funny. We're in a graveyard. Right, you are. Forgive me for being a little. How should I put this? Less inclined to believe that this is the end. Instinctively, I took a step back, eyeing her carefully. What I meant was, I didn't think things would end up this way. No doubt my brothers are both dead now. And that's just life, isn't it? You're not sad at all? I never said that. I just wished things would turn out differently. Can I ask you something? Ask or accuse. Did you do it? Are you the reason they're all dead? Come on now, Dave. Come now, Dave. Do you really think I did much of anything? I can make a guess as to what happened on that mountain, but I've been there this whole time. Not the graveyard, mind you, just more local. But who else could it be? Well, I'll admit I may have set the whole thing in motion to some extent, but there was no meticulous planning or really any overseeing on my part. But no, on my part, I just left it up to chance. I frown. I gave her must have prompted the frown I gave her must have prompted her to clarify further, because it almost seemed like she expected that to explain away everything. No doubt you may have discovered a certain room in the basement. The vault. Right. A truly wonderful machine, if I do say so myself. And the only thing that could really save my younger brother from himself. Meaning? Well, meaning that given enough time on a macrocosmic scale, anything and everything will eventually come to pass. Maybe it already has, including saving two people that really need it. She turned back to Reginald's grade, shaking her head. But as we find ourselves, they're both dead now, so I guess not this time around either. So, my friends died. Oswald and Benson died. Because you gambled on something? Is it really a gamble when it's an eventuality? Though, I did say that I have no idea as to what happened on that mountain. I breathed in deep through my nose, frowning hard. It was just a vacation. We were having fun, and then something happened to Sal. He killed Dean and Roswell, and then everything went downhill from there. The mob showed up, and I only got away because. Because you were lucky? No, it was more than that. Well, if the mob showed up, I can assure you I had nothing to do with that. Chances are they had gotten to the mountain of their own volition. But they're the reason everyone is dead. So you admit that I'm not the reason, finally? I'll admit I'm glad to hear that. No, I don't understand what happened. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know why anything happened the way it did. Choice. It ultimately always comes down to choice. The choices you made, or rather you didn't make, led you here and now, led you to here and now, and to this conversation we're having. Not to say it's your fault. Maybe you're just a victim of circumstance. But what circumstances? Why me? Let's see. A lot of that depends on what you know already. Did you ever find a medal with a symbol on it by any chance? The zodiac ones? Exactly. I hid those about the place and entrusted some to Benson to hide as he saw fit, just to ensure I wasn't entirely within the know, you know? No? How best to put this? Random variance is very important when probing what options are available to us. The exact inverse in troubleshooting, really. Giving the goal is to find a possibility that by all means shouldn't exist. I don't get it. Oh, she's just talking to you about timelines, basically, and she's important to the story. Let's just say that. Consider it something opposite to a wave function collapse, then. A what? The more variables that are known and interacted with inevitably led to a collapse, a single truth that coalesces as a logical conclusion. But if all variables are accounted for, and we know them all, no matter how many loops around the systems we may go, the logical conclusion will never change. Random variance enables us to, well, ignore Schrodinger's equation, really. The cat guy? He did more than the cat experiment, but yes. So, if you know everything, then the outcome will always be the same? In a sense. A mastermind within a system has to operate under the same rule as the others within it. But if the mastermind doesn't know everything, Are they still the mastermind? That's just the name given to the person responsible, isn't it? The big bad guy that makes everything happen? Then you too would wear that title, Dave. Your actions and choices led you here after all. But I'm not the bad guy here. I tried to save them. I have no doubt about that, Dave. But such is the nature of chaos in action. I collapsed in a heap in front of her, clutching my head. I was frustrated, upset, and it just felt like she was treating this like a huge joke. Come, dear, it's all right. It's not all right. They are all dead. Then what are you going to do about it? Resign yourself to living in sadness for the rest of your existence or hope for something greater? Cling to a possibility as hope that things don't have to end this way. She sighed it out, staring down at Reginald's grave. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry that my family has caused you so much grief, but please don't give up. What am I meant to do now? Live. Live like there's no tomorrow. Live the life that you have been granted by all the misfortune that led you being here alive and well, instead of being part of some massacre I can only imagine transpired on that vacation. And also, she bomb dropped the password that you should have used again. Huh. That I remembered. That she bomb drops the password. I frowned, that word making me think back to how I watched Roswell and Dean die right in front of me. She offered a hand out to me and picked myself off, slouching with my head racing and trying to keep up with what she'd explained. You will be all right, Dave. Eventually, I'm sure. I stared at her back as she wandered away. Watching her made me wonder just what role she had in this beyond hiding those medals, beyond just being a sister left behind by a family now dead and gone. But whatever role she had either was left unfulfilled or complete now, and didn't concern me any longer. There wasn't anything more I could do about it either. I just had to live. Oh god, really? Yeah. So that is the end of Path D. So, I'm going to do a terrible choice. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to work. I have no idea if it will work. But I did explain that, for Path C, I have to save Benson. And that earlier on, you have a choice on whether to kill Sal or not. I don't know if you kill Sal beforehand, if you can still get Path C. But I kind of figured that I should do it because it gives you a CG. So, for the sake of the CG, even though I don't like doing this, let's do it. I'm sorry, Sal. Okay, let me see if it did put me on Path C, though. I just want to check. It still puts me on Path D, but I'll see. I hesitated, a sudden flash of my dad crossing my mind. Was this the right thing to do? Was this what he would have done if it meant keeping me safe? Sal looked at me, waiting. He wasn't putting up a fight, and if I wanted to, it'd be done. Oh, just to make sure that it's like, are you sure you want this? It's like, are you sure? Oh god, we're no longer friends. We stopped being friends the moment you killed Dean, and made it worse by killing Roswell too. I glared at him as hard as I could and wished I'd brought something with me after all. Or met up with Tyson to see if he'd found a weapon of some kind. I hate you. Oh, God. This is not gonna be pretty. The growling I had returned. My teeth were clenched, and my fists soon to follow. I couldn't bring myself to yell, but instead the voice that came out of my mouth was barely recognizable as my own. You'd better be off dead. I understand. I stood there for a moment, wondering what happened next. With no weapon, killing him was going to be difficult. Dave, all things considered, I don't think you'll be able to kill me. My God, sorry for that. I shot him a look, but I let him continue. But don't worry, I'll handle it. Why should I trust you? As it stands, I'd probably go to jail. If you killed me, then you'd be going to jail instead. So, don't worry about it. I'll handle it myself. It didn't sink in at first, but it dawned on me, causing me to take a step back. But all I could do was nod, turning away. Was this really alright? It didn't matter. What had been said had been said. When I left the pool, I looked towards the mansion. No one outside as far as I could see, and I hesitated to heading back inside. But no matter how I looked at it, I couldn't avoid it forever. Okay, let's just skip. Oh. Oh, yeah, Orlando is not gonna like this. Liar! You did something to him, didn't you? I did nothing. I flashed him my hands, accompanied by an annoyed, if sarcastic smile. See? Hands clean. He's fine, Orlando. He's fine. I'm fine. We're all just damn fine. You're making it really hard to cope, Dave. I thought I could depend on you through this, but now you're just acting like a jerk. Sorry. And yeah, we're just... Honestly, I think if by doing so, I think Benson comes back earlier. I forgot. I thought back to what happened at the pool, shooting Haas a firm look. No. I still read the random dialogue that we haven't seen. I keep quiet, not wanting to say what happened at the pool. If everything went as Sal said it would, then he wasn't a problem anymore. Okay. The rat. I looked towards the back door. Let me just check again for the path rather. We're still in path D, and also you can just notice that now there's another X. He just did the deed. I looked towards the back door. I knew Sal was likely still by the pool, and I wondered if what he did was because of some greater plan to target that one that was marked for death. With what Oswin had said, right? That one of us were marked for death. But now that he was dead too, and this rat seemed to be none too happy about it either, was the person that was marked already dead? I shook my head. There was so many questions left unanswered, and the longer I stayed in the foyer, the more I felt the scent of blood creeping up on me and making me sick. Stepping outside seemed to be the right call. It was fresher out there, but there was still that unmistakable trace of blood tainting everything I could smell. Looking across to the pool area, I could barely make out the fence with what greenery was pruned and tended to in order to make the place seem more hidden. Sal was over there possibly, and with everyone else still asleep, I figured I'd check. Sal? My hand was on the gate, but I didn't open it. Before me, the water in the pool was tainted and stained in a deep red. The smell was stronger here. Blood. Opening the gate carefully, it felt like my body was on auto, each step edging me forward. Sal, are you? That's the CG. It's just this. Unfortunately. I fell to my knees, staring into the water and acknowledging the thing that until now I'd been blocking out. Sal, face down in the pool, dead. No, it was my fault. I told him that we weren't friends. I told him that I wanted him dead, and now he was. I whined, somewhere between a childish cry and a wail. That brought the amount of people dead up to 4. How many more were going to die? Was I going to die? Off to the side, I noticed something vaguely glinting in the morning sun, stained just as red and discarded by the side of the pool. Getting up, I wandered over to it, standing over it and just trying to process what I was looking at. A kitchen knife. It wasn't the first time I'd seen it either. I remember seeing it in the vault laying next to Orlando. I remembered seeing it in the kitchen. But if that's where I'd seen the knife, did Orlando do this? Or did he do it himself like he said he would? Staring down at the knife, all I could do was laugh. First it was a nervous chuckle before devolving into a panicked snicker. Looking around, I wondered if there was someone else around I could turn to for guidance, for any sort of assistance in getting out of here. Someone, help, please. Each word out of my mouth was almost like a gasp for help, punctuated with the remnants of my laughter. But no one came. I had to leave, if only because the smell of the blood and chlorine was making me suffocate. Sal was now gone too, and in a daze I headed back inside. I left everything as it was, afraid that if I disturbed anything, it'd make it more real. This way I could pretend this was just a bad dream, that I'd just fallen asleep at the dining table and getting up early to get coffee. So what if I had a knife? So what? You're nuts. It's bad enough that we have Saul to worry about, and you go pulling this shit. I rose suddenly, slamming the table, and brushing off Tyson's hand as it came to try and push me back down into my seat. Sal's dead. What? He's Sal. Tyson huffed, crossing his arms and looking off somewhere. Good riddance. I don't believe you. He can't be dead. The room was quiet, and I braced against the edge of the table. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I confirmed it this morning. No, you're lying. He's dead, Orlando. Last night he must have. He. You're lying. You've got to be. In a flash, Orlando left the dining room and back into the foyer, likely with the intention of checking the pool. This is. Haas seemed to snap out of his trance, frowning. Dave, did you do it? He didn't do shit. Tyson stepped forward, snarling. Typical. Chances are that you did it. Ty couldn't have, right? You sure about that? See, pup, this is why we're leaving. Ready to point the finger at you at the moment shit hits the fan. Leaving? How the hell are you planning on that? I'm taking Dave through the woods. We're going back home before either of you fucks decide he's next. Yeah, but you're gonna get kidnapped and killed by doing so. Haas scoffed, shaking his head. Did you really want this, Dave? To just up and leave your friends behind? What would Roswell and Dean think? My stomach lurched the moment he brought up their names. I didn't have a choice, did I? Tyson was the one that had decided that I needed to be going with him. Well, I. Ty placed a hand on my shoulder and gripped hard. Turning to look at him, he had that intense, almost crazy glint in his eye that I remembered from the way back. I didn't have a say here, and as he's already decided, except instead of something silly like paying for my food when he was already struggling for cash, this was a lot more serious. Yeah. Wait, really? Yeah, I want to leave. The look Haas gave me was somewhere between hurt and disgust, looking between Tyson and I before talking in eerily calm tone. All right, good luck. He left in the direction Orlando went, leaving Tyson and I alone. I looked over to the pool, hearing Orlando still wailing. No doubt he'd been there this whole time grieving for Sal, and I couldn't blame him. With how Haas had reacted, it seemed like giving him some space might be a good idea. He probably had his hand full with Orlando rather than wanting to hear me try and talk things out right now. So yeah, that's kind of why Pat C is kind of the same thing. Like, Pat C is not that different from Pat D, from what I remembered. It's just that you save Benson instead of Sal. I'd maybe get to see Sal again to apologize for what I'd said, although this was fitting punishment for what I did to him. Rushing over to my bag, I tried to look for anything. A loose hairpin I might have picked up. A crowbar. Well, neither would have been in my bag. I looked for them anyway, out of desperation. Growling, I threw my bag across the room and sat on the ground in a huff, having found nothing. Yeah, I mean, I'm continuing this path because I don't know if killing Sal still allows you to go to Path C, but I know that saving Benson in the previous timeline will definitely get me to Path C, but I kind of just want to see. I clutched on my fur, pulling tight. I had to think of something else, distract myself with literally anything else, otherwise I'd give up on trying to help Tyson. As the fur came, I yelped, looking at the strands of fur between my fingers. There wasn't a lot, and as much as it made me wonder if I needed a good brushing or clipping, this wasn't the way to do it. Turning my hand over, I watched as the fur fell to the floor and hugged my knees. I was scared, upset, and angry that I'd been locked in my room like a prisoner. Who could have done this to me? All things considered, there were only two options left. Getting to my feet, I wandered back over to my bag, looking again. Not for anything to get out of the room, but for anything that might help me save Tyson once I got out. I didn't get far though, my attention turning to my door when I heard it open. Good to see you awake. Did you lock me in here? No, honest. Then Haas? Orlando nodded meekly, backing down as I advanced on him towards the door. We didn't know what had happened, and we were scared you'd leave again. Oh, yeah, well, talking to me might have been nice. You were unconscious, so we didn't have much choice. Yeah, well, move. You're in the way. Huh? I pushed past him and left the room. My backpack hadn't given me any options, so as bad as I was at improvising these sort of things, I had little alternative. Okay. What, you'd expect those of us left behind just to let you run off again? It's bad enough that Tyson's not here after what happened to Dean and Roswell. Not to mention Sal. I mean, we're in the worst path right now. Indeed, find Orlando and bring him here. Well, there's only the four of us left. It's best we're all present. I don't know where to look. I could still remember the smell of the pool, the sounds of Orlando's wailing as I entered the forest with Tyson, Oswin, and Sal. His name almost caught in my throat, my chest feeling tight knowing that I had a hand in him not being around anymore. Maybe not literally, but what I told him weighed heavy on my conscience. Okay, Benson sighed out, turning to look at me. We have a lot left to do. We'll spend the rest of the day preparing for what's to come, and reconvene later. Okay, this. Did Oswin, did Roswell, or Dean? What about Sal, I don't think I wasn't aware of what happened at the pool last night. We can get more into it tomorrow. You'd be best to go spend some time gathering your thoughts. I know I need the time with mine, at the very least to get you something to defend yourself with. That gunshot kind of just scared me up a bit. I took the knife up in hand and shuddered as I held it. Just knowing where it had been sent a shiver down my spine, but in a strange way, I felt safer holding it knowing where I was about to go. Ready yourself, Dave. It's going to be a trial today, so take what time you need over the next hour. When you're ready, meet me outside. In one motion, he stood and wandered towards the kitchen, leaving me alone, the warmth coming from the cup of tea I used to warm my hands a little, and I managed to swallow another bite of bread. But the next hour brought no peace, just an increasing sense of dread as I held that knife, and eventually I stood to go meet him outside. I trust you are ready, Dave? Sure, I guess so. He turned to leave, noticing that I didn't move and paused mid-stride. Well? It's going to be fine, right? It's best not to ask that question, my boy. Let's just get going. Hold on, Dave. Okay. Benson sat down, catching his breath and looking about the trees. Just have to gather myself. It's been a while. Since you went on a walk? Sit, my boy. Do you think we're close? Almost certainly. That rabbit mentioned the water mill, so all we do is follow the river from here until we get there. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. How long do you think we've been walking for? I honestly haven't been keeping track. I've noticed, but then it's a couple of hours already. The issue becomes transporting Tyson back with us. I'll carry him if I need to. It may come to that. Finally, taking a seat down onto the ground, I flinched and reached underneath me to see what I'd sat on. Oh, this again, okay. What is it? A bottle, I think. Ah. Do you recognize it? It's one of Oswin's. How can you tell that from so far away? That's a complicated question. Complicated how? It's almost like you knew it'd be out there. Unless there's something unique about the bottle, but it just looks normal to me. The label itself is enough of a giveaway, but no, I didn't know it'd be out here. Although I did assume it'd be one that was removed from his lab. Because you were the one that took it? Well, no, but I may as well. I may as well have. Stay here. Benson gestured to the spot of the ground and continued forward without me, looking around with his gun at the ready. Standing there, just waiting, watching, made me uneasy. Even with the knife, I was scared. My fur wait, actually, in the previous round, Sal stopped us from being stupid. I forgot. Is this like just like a game over? Even with the knife, I was scared. My fur was standing on my hand, and I barely breathed in case I missed some sound that gave away something approaching. A few minutes later, and Benson made his way back over, looking somewhat perturbed. Even for that okay. Yeah, smell blood. I smell blood. I rushed forward without thinking. All I was doing was following my nose, fueled by wanting to see Tyson again. The scent of blood made me worry, but if I felt a chill run down my spine the moment I saw a flash of white appear in the entry of the mail. Yeah, that. Yeah, this again. It's kind of the same dialogue. Oh no, it's Jack. Yeah. Come on. You damn naive hyena. I knew we could make grabbing the dog work. Now, if you just want to hand that over now if you just want to hand that over that thing you've got there, we can call this little trade of ours done. Benson threw the parcel on the ground in front of him, keeping his gun pointed toward Jack. Well, that's not very useful. How do I know if you brought the right thing? How's about you open it up for us? He was looking at me as he said that, gesturing toward the bundle on the ground. Go on, open it. Kneeling down, I peeled back the fabric, lynching upon seeing what was inside. It was the rat from the lab, the one that Benson shot. Yeah. Yeah, the same thing. Well, what do you know? It's the little guy. You know this rat? They have been introduced before, yes. I stood, holding the still rat, and Jack snatched him away, ruthlessly tearing him open and digging around the inside to, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Decide, clearing it out, yeah. Tyson? Oh, you really want your friend, huh? Well, I suppose we can finish up here and, and go see him. What do you mean? A loud bang echoed around us, and suddenly Benson was on the ground. He was okay. So I don't think you can even get Pat C with this right. Yeah, he's just already dead. Okay, yeah, no. So I have to actually load. Okay, I actually have to keep Sal alive. I see. It was this here. Okay. Well then, now that I know that if you kill Sal beforehand, you cannot save Benson. Sorry, Sal, but for Pat C, I have to save Benson. Just to confirm that I did it correctly, this should show me Pat C. Maybe later, but I know this should be Pat C. Sal was armed. He was safer than Benson was at the moment, and I made a move for Benson's gun. What's this? Little hyena grow some balls? Put him down. If anything, the bear's grip tightened and Benson started to convulse, thrashing against his restraints. Looking into Benson's eyes was a furious, if desperate look. They darted to the gun in my hand before starting to roll back, the twitching starting to increase. No! Before I knew it, I'd fired. Eyes closed as my fingers tightened on the trigger, bracing for a resounding bang. But all that came out was a loud roar-like yell. I rushed over to Benson, and he was wild. bracing himself up on all fours, hacking up blood, but he seemed fine enough. As I looked back to check up on Sao, I was pushed backwards on my rear with the gun swiped from my hand. Die. With one fluid movement, Benson had taken his gun back and fired, landing a shot between the eyes of the bear and making him crumble onto the ground. One wound in his shoulder, one in his hand, and he was gone. Bleh. Sorry. From my spot on the ground, I looked back over to Sal as Benson swiveled around to point the gun at his next target. Breath catching in my chest. Jax jumped away from his perch on Saul's back, yanking the knife that he plunged into his throat and using him as cover. Well, at least we can consider this a trade, right? 1 for 1. Dave, we're leaving. There's nothing more for us here. But Tyson! Oh yeah, your little dog friend. Why don't you go inside and see what's left of him? I felt cold, looking between Jack and the entry of the mill, wondering if I could make a break for it. Benson fired again, making me cover my ears. It seems as though he missed his mark somehow, though. You should know better than that. Why don't we call it quits for now and pick this up later? He bolted, retreating behind cover and then out of sight before Benson could line his shot again. I crawled over to Sal, looking at the blood pouring from his open neck wound. He was alive, if only for a few seconds more. Our eyes locked. His hand moved forward towards me before falling limp. Then he was gone. Okay, just to confirm, this is gonna be Pat C, right? This should be Pat C. Wait, what? Unless the dev changed it, this should be Pat C. We need to get back to the house. But Tyson... And the others back at the house? Please, if he's alive and we're here, then... Fine. I rushed inside, looking around. The place was dusty and dirty, but the smell of blood only got stronger. Tyson! Benson was behind me. Each step seemed to be as measured as always, but there was something off about how he was stepping. Angrier, maybe. Tyson, where are you? I was just following the scent of blood to where it was the strongest. The large room underground seemed to have that scent everywhere. Everything. It all smells the same. Benson breathed in deep, approaching to stand beside me. It's suffocating. Are you sure you don't wish to turn back now? I continued to look around, falling to my knees as I looked behind an old conveyor belt. As much as I wanted to look away, I couldn't stop. Every part seemed to be increasingly worse as I noticed more and more wrong with how Tyson was left. Dead. I barely heard him, although deep down I knew that this mangled body was Tyson. What remained of that pale blue fur behind the multiple cuts and bloodstains were unmistakably his. It seemed that he had been chained to the wall by his neck, collared and leashed like a dog. Ty. It felt so surreal. Even reaching out and touching him didn't cement that he was gone. The blood was crusty and slightly gelatinous, his body cold. We weren't even close to saving him. We need to go. Without waiting for a reply, I was dragged to my feet and marched out of the mill. At some point, I felt my face damp, but I couldn't tell if it was blood or just tears. Not that Benson seemed to care with how he was keeping us moving at a steady pace, presumably back in the direction of the mansion. Okay, this should be Pat C now, right? How come? I know that this is Pat C. Huh. Is it like... This shows Pat C, but like I know that keeping Benson alive... No. I know there's a Pat C, and I know that keeping Benson alive is Pat C. Well, even if the game doesn't show that it's Pat C, for me, I'll say it. In the version that I played the game, this was Pat C. Soon enough, the mansion was in sight. We'd made it back without anything else happening, but we weren't in the clear just yet. Wait, let me just check my notes. Yeah. C. Failed to use the keyword save Benson instead of Sal. And then for Pat B, it's use the password and reveal Oswin. And for the best Pat A, use the password and keep Oswin hidden. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the dev changed it, I don't know. We stopped short of the back door and Benson finally let out a sigh, shooting me a look. Are you alright? Sorry. What do you think? As fair a response as any. Come, we need to tell Orlando and Haas what to expect. In a flash, Benson ushered me through a door so we were safely within the walls of the mansion, closing the door behind him. You're back. But... Haas trailed off, looking for someone else, although not for long. Yes, we're back, although not without some bad news. Orlando wailed into his hands before letting them slump, already fearing what we were about to say. His sobs filled the foyer, but I still reeling from how we found Tyson. So much death in so little time. I felt sick and almost numb to it from how fast things seemed to be happening. My sadness couldn't keep up. Both Sal and Tyson are no longer with us. What happened now? What even happened out there? The rabbit had backups, it seemed. Not that it's a problem now. We're in no less danger. Okay then, we leave, right? We try and get down the mountain and get help somehow. That is one option. They are others? None that are any better. If were I a tad younger, I'd feel more comfortable engaging multiple opponents, but as it turns out, well... So, we leave or we fight? We're not fighting. We're in no condition to. Just look at Orlando. It's not like we can just leave either. What about the others, the others still here? What about getting down the mountain? Leaving affords us the best chances of survival. Although with Orlando's current state, it might make things difficult. I'm fine. If you're going to call me a liability, then at least say it to my face. So we can just leave? We don't need supplies? I don't think there is anything within the mansion that would ensure safe passage down the mountain. Some rope, perhaps, but without proper climbing gear, it may not do us any good. Great, so let's go. We can figure out how to get back later once we've told the police. Haas took in charge and we made for the front door. On our way out, I lingered in front of the side room where Roswell and Dean were placed, a chill running down my spine. Wait. Because this is slightly different. No, this is... Apparently the game still considers it as Pat C, D, bleh. But soon enough we were out at the front and with Haas and Benson leading the way, Orlando and I were following as best as we could, although slower. Our trek down the driveway was hurried, but not having already been dragged through the woods, it was rough and I had to stop. Orlando. What? I'm exhausted. I'll carry you. And slow you down more? We're almost at the road. You can make it. I don't think I can. Everything hurts. I've been running for hours. I need water. And then everyone that's died. Orlando shuffled forward and placed a hand on my shoulder, running that hand down the length of my arm before grabbing my hand. Sorry about this. The next moment, he put me over his shoulder and started walking. He carried me for a couple of times, but really only short-lived piggyback rides. Something about me being deceptively heavy. But we made it. We hit the road just like he said, and there Benson and Huss were waiting for us. Good, you're here. The plan is to head down the road and try to get across that gap in the road. Some ledge climbing if absolutely need be, but it's our only option out. I didn't remember it being this bad, but is this really the best option after all? One risk of dying over the other? Bleh. Given what Dave and I went through today, I assure you that these risks do not hold equal threat. Alright, fine. If someone has to go first, I guess I volunteer. Why, go? Why'd you want to go for? As fast as I'd seen him, Benson already had his gun out and fired off a shot, directed somewhere in my direction. Hust had dropped to the ground just as quick, hand on his knees, eyes shut tight. Gonna have to aim better than that, Benny boy. Benson braced himself and fired again, but just as quick. Jack shifted behind a tree, although the second shot sent his knife flying somewhere into the bush nearby. Into the brush? Nearby? Well, damn. I dispatched your associate. I can find time to rid the world of one more. Interesting claim, but how sure are you on that? How many bullets are left, I wonder? A full magazine. Well, that's an unconvincing lie. Still, I have my orders. You have yours. This is going to end in one way. Indeed. Orlando and I backed up to the cliff that ran along the road, keeping away from the edge as best we could. It was a standoff between the two, and before long Jack made the first move. He rushed forward, a bullet clipping his ear as he weaved forward enough so Benson couldn't get a clear shot. Maybe it was the exhaustion from running through the woods earlier or old age, I couldn't tell. I'll just keep checking from here on, from time to time. No, it still says Pat's D. I don't know why. But Jack pulled out the second knife, rushing in as Benson fired again, catching him in the arm, the second the chest, and then, with a final leap, Jack plunged his knife into Benson's chest and used that momentum to take both over the edge of the cliff, cackling madly as he did so. There was silence, nothing but silence that came to follow for a few minutes more as Orlando and I edged closer to Haas. I helped Haas to his feet, and he was struggling to get himself under control despite trying to get to assure us otherwise. I'll still check, because I swear this is Pat C. Did that really happen? Do you think? Nah, kids, that drop's right fatal. Orlando paled at the voice, and it was one I didn't recognize either. Not at first, but the smell certainly was. Smoky, a faint presence of biting cologne, something I'd only smelled a few times, but I knew from where. Orlando's father. He's back. Memphis Noble. And so we all die. And so bad. Those are the worst days to go. Like... Please don't reply to him. The crooked smile he wore after I'd asked made me realize that I'd made a mistake. Slowly, almost deliberately, he'd raised his own gun and pointed at the Haas. Without flinching, he pulled the trigger and littered him with bullets. Was that really necessary? The ringing in my ears stunned me so that I watched as Haas' body fell over the edge too. Orlando yells of protest barely audible. But when I felt him grab me, looking me over, I whined. I was terrified with the extra height he had over me, making the gun at my neck all the worse. You look familiar. Dad, please, he's my friend. Let him go. I'll become like you. I'll do anything. Just don't hurt him. Memphis looked towards Orlando briefly, snorting out. Yeah? Please. All right, I won't hurt him. Orlando fell to his knees, clutching his chest as he tried to compose himself. But the next thing I felt was the hot metal of the gun barely off my fur, pointing right between my eyes. Yeah, this won't hurt at all. And we literally just die. Wait, Pat E? Okay, excuse me, what? I wasn't aware that there were that many wait. That means there's a Pat F? What the hell? My notes said, failed to use the password, save Benson instead of Saul. I might have an idea. Maybe it's that, but there's more to it than that. Remember that I said that there's another choice that is quite important? This choice. For Pat A, you have to not reveal Oswin. I wonder if you don't reveal Oswin, but you still fail to use the password, if it leads to Pat C. So I'm gonna support him. I'm just gonna, like, skip that, because I just want to see. Around if anything, so yeah. I just want to see. Oh wait, that's day 8. That's, oh yeah, that's where we need to go with the. That's when we go to Oswin, I believe, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we need to find the secret passage, right? Exactly. It surprised me if there's anything, something big, how big the place is. Secret panic room? If you're rich, why not splurge on one? Is that normal? Like I said, if you have the money, why not? Also, wait. Because I know that, like, doing this choice will probably make the game say I'm on Pat A. No, still not. Because, oh yeah, because of the password thing. Waste of money. Maybe, unless you're hiding something there as well. Maybe. Okay, just skip. Before I do, Oz wanted me to deliver something to you. How come? You'll grow tired of me saying this, but it comes down to loyalty. Suffice to say, he entrusted me with giving something to pass on. No, Master Dave. It's not a physical boon. Oh, information. Just something to keep in mind for later. Bring your flashlight. My flashlight? I'll prove some adequate batteries if you need them and leave them in your room before dinner if you so wish. Okay. So go back to Haas because he knows everything. Ask Haas. Well done, Master Dave. Yeah. He's now, yeah. So I'm just gonna skip through. Because I feel like Pat C might be not reveal Oswin, but still fail to use the password then. And I guess Path E is just die. I'm not gonna question him, whatever. God have, but thing separated, judging my fare. It was only when Benson cleared his throat that I took notice of him staying off to the side, watching me curiously. Are you quite alright? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I haven't been here long, but you seem distraught. Maybe. Actually, no. Yes, I am. Just... I threw my hands up before letting the entirety of my body slump just shy of being enough to make me fall to the floor as I groaned. Last night took it out of me. You make the most of it, though? I guess. I don't know if it got me anywhere, though. Indeed, Master Oswin mentioned as such when I brought him to his breakfast. What is, was he saying about him or me? He's undecided about himself. All I know, he was eager to get to his lab this morning to do something. Oh yeah, that. The more technical, yeah. It's basically like the same dialogues. I wonder. Nah. Okay. Come on. That's good enough. I'm sure your room would be fine by comparison. Nah. Well, now I best be off. Good day, Master Dave. Sorry if I'm skipping dialogue, but I just want to see. Where'd the... That's right, Benson made us lunch before moving to go off do something else. Not sure why, though, but he seemed to be in a hurry. Then we'll probably get to it later, right? It was fine, right? I could stack the dishwasher. Okay. What was this? Apologize, I guess. Oh yeah, that. What was the Orlando thing? Reverse, okay. I want Orlando to win. Hold his hand. Yeah, that really was I did. 8. Yeah, that's like the count. Right. Then soon I should have the choice to go to the vault. Round offload. Oh, alright, not gonna be... Oh, yeah, this thing. There's a lot. Been around meeting my... Good morning, Master Dave. Good morning. Someone's up early, having... Okay. Oh yeah, that part is a little funny. What does even a guy like Oswin eat for breakfast? I've been wondering what sort of what someone with that much money has on as their diet. The reply is funny. I remember that. Children's cereal. The blank look I was giving him made him shake his head before he strode over to the pantry to pull out a box from the back. He's a man of simple tastes. If I wasn't around, chances are he'd subsist mostly on his sugar-laden rubbish instead of and instant noodles. Good thing he has you around then, huh? Indeed. That is kind of funny. It's like he eats children's cereal. I did this. Come on, vote. Oh yeah, that is the investigation. There's a long way before we get to the vote part, huh? As I turned around. Master Dave. Oh, Benson, hello. Oh, okay, I think all the Benson scenes is that if I reveal Oswin is gonna send him to vacation, But if I keep him, keep him secret, Benson is not gonna leave for vacation. You look troubled, more so than usual. Whatever is the matter? Decided I tried and pieced together what danger would be. Getting the vote to work again. Ah, quite the task you've set for yourself. How is that going thus far? Well, I don't have any things solid to go off of. The moment it's just Sal, I suppose. Your crocodile friend. What about him? When I left the library about talking to Oswin, he was in the conservatory, just kind of standing there. But he doesn't remember doing that. Does he sleepwalk, perhaps? I used to do so when I was younger. Sleepwalking? Indeed. Perhaps he sleepwalks and just decided to take a stroll. Or he has more of a skill for acting than Master Haas. I doubt that. At the very least, he didn't know about the bookcase entry, unless he's lying. Perhaps, Master Dave. Perhaps. What should I do? Should I be? Do you think I'm worrying for no reason? Not at all. Master Oswin expressed worry himself this morning. You're not the only one wondering what the next event will entail. Well, everyone, consider it an old sense of reigniting. This familiar scent of murderous intent on the air, if you will. Also, I think I remember what the actual Patsy is that if I keep Oswin hidden, he's not gonna get stabbed in the back, and so when Memphis goes in Dimension to negotiate, Oswin is gonna be there. So that might be the actual Pat C then. As for wait, I got Pat E. A B C D. Yeah, no, it's actually yeah. We're still on track, I believe. Yeah, I think we're still on track. Not that it's anything remotely intangible, my boy. It's just an inkling to this old otter has. Should I have a gun, a weapon, anything like that? Unless you wish to get accused of being the assailant, I would advise against it. The best I can do is state that I have no intent of arming any of you without express instruction from Master Oswin. Well, that's something at least. However, what? Rushes without thinking it over. It is probably nothing, but I would potentially want to address that first. The prospect of a puppet is a dangerous one. A puppet? You don't mean... It is unlikely that anyone could use your crocodile friend to kill, but with that little creativity, that's still one problem that's worth addressing, lest you wish for a mass... So he also hint drops the password before we even go to the vote. That's interesting. He also hint drops the password straight up. Huh. I go to the prospect. If he was describing it as a massacre, what did he expect could happen? A big man such as himself would be a force in his own right, and putting him down would be somewhat of a challenge without being considerably armed. What do you suggest? Talking to him for a start, Master Dave. Where is he now? Or didn't I? Yeah, I think that's gonna be like the same thing as we did with Orlando, I believe. I'll be playing Master Saul. Do you experience sleepwalking? Not that I know of. Fascinating. By the way, is it fine that I'm just skipping through this because we're already sort of we already kind of saw this. It's just that this time Benson is here. What about you? What we're talking about there, Benson had an idea. Yeah. Well, pay me no mind, just passing down wisdom. However, I have one question. It's quite bold to ask me of me to ask this directly. Oh, have you ever killed someone, Master Sal? Sal's face paled, and he took a step back. Or perhaps just thought about it. To be perfectly honest, even if the predisposition is there, is all I'm after. Benson, you can't go asking that. Have I overstepped the line? I meant no disrespect. After all, it's been... Yes, Wait, what? Oh, an accident. Then perhaps we're in the clear then. As far as taking a life is concerned, an accident doesn't constitute enough of a risk. Should I be worried? Oh, Benson wondered if you were walking because... Actually, why were you wondering about that? Allow me to explain. Someone that can be hypnotized and those that are prone to sleepwalking have some level of suggestibility. The things you can convince someone to do or think while they are in this state is, put it simply, it's a means of rewiring the brain. Forgive the simplicity with how I say this, but convincing someone to potentially kill another is possible if the right conditions are met. What conditions? A predisposition of the action you're suggesting to them. In this case, requesting for the person to currently hypnotized to kill another requires that they have some inner desire to end another's life. But what about the creativity you mentioned before? Ah, that. Consider it a loophole. One could still get the person in a trance to kill if they framed their suggestion in a different way. Say perhaps sending them a vial of poison and asking them to administer a dear friend some medicine, or season a pot of food. They would be unknowing of... Holy shit. I'm surprised because Benson, right now, just literally, not really broke the fourth wall, but, well, I would say broke the fourth wall at 2 of the deaths, the first deaths that can happen. The vial of poison is obviously referring to Orlando, but the second, I feel like it's also pointing at another first death, which is Dean's first death. Holy shit, was it Sal for every single of the first deaths? That someone just puppeteered him into killing every one of them? Although remembering all the different first deaths, the only one I cannot see Sal being able to do is Tyson's first death. Tyson's first death doesn't seem plausible to be Sal. So I believe every first death might be Sal being puppeteered while he sleepwalks. Holy shit. Also, Colin, the solution is much more simpler than locking Saul up when he goes asleep. There's a reason why he's sleepwalking. And truth be told, that reason is because he's taking Dean's medicine to help him sleep. So if he just stopped taking that medicine, he should stop sleepwalking. But that's terrifying. Indeed, but while the potential is there, the likelihood of this happening is very low. Have a decent sleep and you'll be fine, I'm sure of it. I mean, it's a bear tranquilizer. Well, it's a bear medicine. It's made to be strong. So I feel like, I guess the medicine is just too strong for Sal to handle correctly. Alright, I think I can do that. Now, if you excuse me, gentlemen. And Master Dave, should you need anything else, I'll be around. Okay. It's through the trauma. Sal. There's a pattern. I'm not... Can I stop having the skipping thing? I'm not gonna have the... Wait, I'm gonna save over... Not this one, because this one is gonna be the setup for Path B. I know this for a fact that this is the setup for path B. So I'm gonna save it there. Just in case... Wait. No, yeah, that's gonna be the setup for path A. Yeah, I wish I could, like, name... I wish I could just, like, name my save files. So this is gonna be my path B file. This is gonna be my path A file, I guess. So I'm not going to put the password. Give up. And then this should be path C. Well, part of path C. Huh, it still says nothing. Let's see. Okay. The death happened. So, yep, okay, now it is path C. So it's all about not revealing Oswin's identity for path C. I should probably update my notes in that case. Where is the path? So fail to to use the keyword save Vincent Sal. Don't reveal Oswin. That's kind of strange. When I drive, Benson was there as if waiting for me. His face didn't budge, but I got the impression he knew what was happening, or rather what had happened. Please follow me. Wait, did Oswin actually died again? I forgot. Shouldn't, right? Led the way forward towards passage. No, yeah, he's still alive. Yeah, so in this path, Oswin is still alive for now. Sir. Yes, thank you, Benson. This will be all. No. No. Which one of you? I was shaking, but I noticed Benson and Oswin looking at one another. You're distressed from what you just watched. Believe me, if I was the one behind this, we'd not be talking right now. Honestly, I just wished to come out myself to confirm their passing. But sir... Right. And another thing, Dave. It's best the rest of your friends hear this too. Without waiting for either of us, Oz started walking back the way he'd come. As I made to follow, Benson placed a hand on my shoulder. Dave, are you all right? I brushed his hand away, glowering. What did he expect me to say? What did he expect me to say to that? Two of my friends were dead. I was terrified. To top it all off, Oswin just up and left, more interested in corpses than those still alive. Very well, shall we? So I feel like with this big confusion in the path thing, I think I'm gonna stop it here for today. So yeah, at least we finished paths D and E. I forgot the path E was a thing, but yeah, so 2 paths down, 3 left. We still have C, B, and oh my god, CB. Chess Battle Advanced. Sorry, I cannot get I cannot get out of this meme. Anyways, hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time. Take care.